Woo! These 28 years later movies. Two so far. 28 years later, the Bone Temple. Bone Temple. Sounds like where I took your mom last night. Still not going for that one. Okay, so 28 years later, The Bone Temple is the sequel to 28 years later. And in 28 years later, The Bone Temple, we pick up with Dr. Kelson. He's hanging out with the three-legged zombie Samson. And you also have Jimmy, played by Jack O'Connell. He's got a bunch of tracksuits in his cult. They're called the Jimmies. They recruit Spike into their number, and they pretty much just go around the English countryside causing havoc and mayhem, and they're just generally all around creepy fucking bastards. That's pretty much the basic synopsis of the movie. You have the Jimmies kind of going on, doing their own thing, and you have Dr. Kelson doing his thing before the two forces finally come together. Pretty straightforward, but I mean, underneath all the surface of everything, there's definitely a lot to chew on here. To start off with some of the things I liked about the movie, I mean, Jack O'Connell and the whole crew of the Jimmies, there's some creepy bastards. Kind of the thing we expect from zombie media nowadays is that you have the infected are scary, they'll get you, they'll munch on your face and kill you. But the people who are still alive, the factions that have risen up in the place of this zombie apocalypse, some of the most evil people inherit the earth and wreak havoc. One sequence in particular, the Jimmies have this family tied up by their wrists in a barn, and he's like, what are we gonna do with them? Old Nick says, Old Nick is Satan. They worship at the altar of Satan, or Jimmy Savile, a very famous DJ from the UK that later got outed as a pretty big, ginormous fucking piece of shit who sexually assaulted multiple people ranging from 75-year-old women all the way to children. Yeah, they worship at the altar of him. Granted, in this world, that information never really came to light because the zombie apocalypse in the 28 years later universe happened about, I don't know, like 10 years before all this shit came to light. Just kind of an extra layer of, if you know your UK media personality history, which I didn't. I had to Google it after they showed up at the end of 28 years later. But anyway, yeah, we're getting sidetracked. I gotta get back on topic. There's a scene in a barn, and he's like, Old Nick, what are we gonna do with them? Old Nick's saying we should take their shirts off. And I was like, I don't think he's talking about shirts like their clothes. I think he's talking about something else. And he was. And it's very disturbing. It's very gory. It's very upsetting sequence. Also, Dr. Kelson's whole thing with Samson, I thought that was great. Ralph Fiennes in this movie and in the previous movie, he was the fucking star of both of these for me. I mean, no shit, he's the star of this one. He's got top billing. That's besides the point. Point is, he's the one who, throughout both of these movies, I've gravitated towards the most. And his relationship with Samson kind of harkens back to a thing that I've thought since 28 Days Later, which is maybe these people aren't like zombies. Maybe they're not completely gone. Maybe this virus that is causing them to lose their fucking minds and just eat people, maybe it is that. It's a virus. It's an illness. Maybe it's something that can be cured. So I like that in this movie, it kind of confirms a thing that I've thought for the past, 10 years. That's just me being gratified with my own fan theories. They confirm what I thought, and I like that. But they really do dive into Samson a lot in this movie, which I thought was pretty surprising. Remember Samson in the last movie, and you just, every time he was on scene, you were just like, you need to put some pants on. Jeez, I'm trying not to say it's, you know what, if you've seen these movies, you know what I'm talking about. There's a part of Samson that you just kind of are trying not to look at, but it's just so in your face, it's there, and you're kind of forced to look at it. I think one of my only real issues with the movie is that Spike kind of takes a back seat to everything. Spike was our character. He was our focal point in the last 28 years later movie. He was the one we were rooting for. He was the one who we went on the adventure. We saw his coming of age. And it feels like it's not really his story anymore, which is kind of disappointing because I thought the whole trilogy was just kind of his hero's journey, so to speak. Also, visually, I mean, it's still shot pretty well. There's still some insane camera work here and there, but visually it is kind of a step down from just the batshit insane frenetic energy that Danny Boyle brought to 28 years later. He did a Matrix bullet time with an arrow going into a guy's head, and he did that all on a fucking iPhone. None of that is in this movie, which is very disappointing. Also, there's no Young Father score this time around. Yeah, that Young Father score in 28 years later is so cool. I was listening to it the other day again. It's one of the best movie scores to come out from last year. Hildur Guðnadóttir is a great composer. Joker score, fantastic. Chernobyl score, fantastic. Also, there's some really fantastic needle drops in here. You got Ralph Fiennes kind of dancing around every night in his compound to Duran Duran. There's one scene in particular set to an Iron Maiden song. I'm not going to tell you which one because it just hits that much harder if you don't know what the song is. But yeah, that scene, one of the coolest scenes in the movie. That was the one where I was like, oh yeah, Nia DaCosta really is just going, not Danny Boyle insane, but she's going insane. But I do like the overall things going on in this movie with the idea of faith and how can faith be used as a weapon in a very shitty world. What lengths are you willing to go to maintain your humanity? How far can we slip when there's no systems in place? Are the zombies the monsters? Or are we the monsters? But in the end, yeah, 28 years later, the Bone Temple. Thought it was a pretty satisfying follow-up to 28 years later. Step down, kind of. Not a lot. Still great. I'm a little disappointed with the handling of Spike. I do kind of hope that that third film, he comes a little bit more into the forefront instead of being a side character, which he kind of felt like in this film. But I still think, as of right now, these movies have the potential to be one of the greatest trilogies out there. I can't lie, the jingling keys at the end of this movie, I'm very susceptible to my nostalgia bait in things. So the thing that they did at the end of this movie to set up what might happen in the third film, it got me very excited. They've already greenlit a third one, but like I said, my top 10 anticipated movies of the year list. Sometimes these things get announced and then the movie doesn't do that well, so then they just kind of quietly sweep it under the rug and it ends up not happening. So that's why y'all need to get out there and see this movie, because I want my third 28 years later movie. But anyway, yeah, 28 years later, The Bone Temple. What's your favorite of the 4 insert interval of time here movies? Whatever you think, whatever it may be, you can sound off in the comments. And if you like what you've seen, you can click right here. And I'll see you guys next time.